Welcome, everyone. Welcome, foolish mortals. We've done that about 20 times on this show, but it's about to be Halloween, so I brought it back.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, it may not appear. It's a little bit of a gag on a show full of immortals.
Yeah.
So let the laughs commence.
Well, if you stopped talking, maybe they would. Oh, welcome to Movie Club. Bazinga! Got you. I've been watching a lot of Young Sheldon lately, so if I seem extra funny on today's episode...
Now we know why.
You know the problem with Young Sheldon, real quick?
He's not
just
old
too
Sheldon.
smart for his own good.
He doesn't even say Bazinga in the show.
He doesn't?
Yeah, I
As
think
far
it's
as
gonna.
I know.
I think the series is gonna end with that.
I think they're building up
Yes.
to the Bazinga reveal.
Didn't
Like,
that
that's
happen in Smallville where like Clark Kent never flew in Smallville
Oh my
until like the
God.
last episode or some shit?
Bazinga
Yes.
is
that real?
the equivalent of Superman's first flight. Hey, today we're doing 3 episodes of a TV show. A first for Movie Club. Maybe we're going to set a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Maybe we'll do 3 episodes of Young Sheldon next. I don't know. It's Rocco's pick. He'll reveal at the end of the episode. Think about it.
If you guys continue to piss me off, we may be heading in that direction. Just so you know, you may be getting a Young Sheldon special.
Wow.
I actually do want to take a second though to comment on what Sean said.
What did he say?
That Smallville did not have him fly at all until the last moment of the show.
People out there may not know who he is. Smallville is about Superman as a teenager growing up in Smallville, America.
And I remember distinctly in 2004, I remember it was September 2004, because Lost had just started. And I remember we were going to watch it on TV. It was like, dude, this new show Lost. And our friends were like, I don't think I'm going to watch that.
Can't watch it tonight.
Can't watch it tonight. Look. And the promo was Clark picked up like a penny on the ground and then and it cut like he's gonna fucking fly tonight.
Finally.
And it didn't happen. It was a cop out. And then
The old bait and switch.
I think Lost ended, and then like a month later, dude, the final episode, he flew. Like it took the span of another show to come and go before he actually.
Damn.
Can you?
That's a bummer
I think about that all
too,
the time
because I really thought that penny was what was going to set him off after
Yeah.
all these years. He picks it up. He's like, I can finally afford a car.
Yeah.
But I guess he wouldn't need the car at that point because he can fly.
Yeah, I need a car.
It's like when Sonic.
Irony.
It's like when Sonic has a car in his
Yeah.
racing game. It's like you
It's-
need a fucking car, dude.
It's called dramatic irony. And there's plenty of dramatic irony in today's episode because I'm going to bring it back on topic here.
I have more Smallville. Okay, fine,
Cool it. Save it for another episode.
fine.
The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. The first 3 episodes. We watched them. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is a show produced by Amazon. What do you call it? Is it Amazon Studios? Is it Amazon Movies?
Original. I mean,
Amazon Originals.
I think
That
they call them
doesn't-
Amazon Originals.
That doesn't sound like a
Yeah.
movie studio. I'm going to call them Amazon.
Prime.
Amazon Productions. It's made by the biggest company on earth. Apparently, this is the most expensive television show ever made in the history of television.
That's true.
$715 million?
Well, what I read here is that Amazon bought the television rights to Lord of the Rings from the Tolkien estate in November of 2017, making a 5-year season production commitment worth at least $1 billion.
Wait, so, okay. Now we're going to talk shop. We're going to talk money. Did they pay that to the Tolkien estate, or did they spend that money making the show?
That I don't know.
Tolkien estate. I actually have that.
Or is it a mix of both?
Maybe it's
I
both.
think that's all including everything. Supposedly Tolkien estate got $250 million.
Okay.
So a big chunk of that was
Wow.
just getting it.
This would make it the most expensive television series ever made. It's based on the appendices of The Lord of the Rings, which include discussion of the Second Age. But okay, well, whatever.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, but this is what I thought was interesting. Let me get to the part that I should have highlighted it. Huh?
Yeah, this show is during the Second Age.
This Wikipedia article is like a new Lord of the Rings book. It's
Well,
so
there's one
detailed.
part of it I was like, oh, I printed it out for this one reason. Now I can't find it. But basically, what I thought I read was that like this isn't taken directly from what Tolkien wrote, but like this,
No, it's not.
But they say like, but we got Tolkien's grandson to help with some of the script writing.
Yeah.
Which to me means jack shit.
It means jack shit. We can let Rocco explain that in a second, what this is based on, because I know,
Yeah.
I think you're kind of the biggest Tolkien fan here, maybe by a
that's
smidgen.
oh, okay.
By a smidgen.
Yeah. Like I don't know if.
By
Yeah,
a
maybe
smidgen.
by a smidgen. You're right.
I think because you've read
Slight.
the trilogy, right?
You have?
A long.
Yeah,
I
time
haven't read
ago.
At some point you read it. I read
Yeah.
The Hobbit, but I never read the proper trilogy.
Yeah.
But what I was reading about the budget was that this whole shebang, the whole production altogether was like 725 million. It's pretty close to $1 billion.
Well, yeah.
But
That's
you know
what.
what? If you take that and add on what the Rocco said
Exactly.
they paid the family, that's $1 billion.
That's
So
what I was
think
going to
figured it
say. I
out.
think that's why they're calling it $1 billion
yeah,
production.
Wow. So
Yeah.
they spent 200 million just to get permission to
Yeah.
make this show.
And that's what sketched me out about it. Hearing about, like, as it got closer, people were like, "Are you going to check it out?" And I was like, the thing that made me kind of question it is this never got approved. They never approved this material. They never, whatever. But I think it's Christopher Tolkien that used to be the person in the family that approved
yeah.
things or not.
Christine Tolkien, yeah.
He died. And then this immediately got, oh, 250 million. Yeah. Approved. It just looked sketchy. It was like, oh, the person that turned this down before,
The
as soon as
grandson
they
was
left.
like, I get how much for doing nothing?
Exactly. That's what it reeked of. To
Well,
me.
yeah, I mean, you can have my grandpa's notes if you're going to give me 250 million, I guess.
That's exactly how it felt to me. So I was going into this like, oh man, I don't know.
Well, when you break it all down, I think that it comes out to something like $58 million per episode is what they're able to spend on this show,
That,
that's a big budget for a movie.
yeah.
That's for every single episode. They're spending, 58 million, $60 million for a TV show.
Before this, I thought it was Game of Thrones, and that was like 10 million an episode, and that was crazy. This is like blowing so
Yeah.
far past that.
You know what was actually the biggest before this?
What?
Game of Thrones was close.
Okay.
And I think that last season, maybe it got
That's what
there.
I'm thinking of.
But I had heard that still the most expensive before this was The Queen.
Oh,
You
really?
you wouldn't quite jump to that immediately.
The Queen?
But I had heard that they actually spent so much on that it ended up being.
What was that even on? The Queen?
Netflix.
I believe
That's The
I think
Crown.
here. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
think
The Queen is a movie.
I'm sorry. It's The Crown.
The Crown.
Oh.
The Crown is the TV show.
I never watched it, so I got it wrong.
Same story, same characters.
I've watched.
Sorry.
I'm like halfway through season 2 of The Crown. I
Oh,
like
really?
it, actually. I do like it.
I mean, I heard good stuff, but kind of surprising though, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's
But
kinda-
honestly, you look at it in the, I don't know where they filmed this, if not Buckingham Palace, which they didn't.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I
Well,
guess.
Lord of the Rings is the most expensive. So
Yeah,
we're
now-
going to focus
now
on
the-
that. The Crown,
Crown-
throw that in the rubbish. That's what
That's
they call
out.
it over there. Lord of the Rings takes the throne.
more money equals better than.
Exactly. So we watched it. We watched the first 3 episodes. I chose it this week. I figured, hey, the Lord of the Rings movies are about 3 hours. And, I like those movies. They're great movies.
I agree.
I'm going to give this show 3 hours and see what the Lord of the Rings experience is like. Yeah, that was the experiment that we set out to accomplish,
Yeah.
and we've done it now. Now we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the first 3 episodes of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the new show on Amazon, most expensive show ever made. We're going to be spoiling it. We recommend you check it out and come back and get our thoughts. Yeah, let's get into it. Rocco, let's start with you because, like I said, just because you've read the books, you've kind of dived into the lore, I think, more than Sean and I have about Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty well versed on the story of the actual original trilogy and The Hobbit, but
Yeah.
kind of the stuff beyond that is where I go fuzzy.
Yeah.
Like the stuff from the Silmarillion.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and
the
I'm
mythology.
by no means an expert on that either, but I just know what, I'm always curious about stuff. I go down the rabbit hole on things, and so I hear a lot of it, but there is too much for my brain to absorb.
But that's what this show is all based on.
Yes. That's what surprised me.
But like Sean mentioned, they couldn't actually get the rights to the books Tolkien had written about that era, because he kind of did some like encyclopedia style books,
Yeah.
the Silmarillion. It's just like mythology, random
Yeah.
stuff.
Which I kind of took it as like, in the very beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, the first movie, it kind of takes you back to like the war and how this all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this goes even before that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I thought it was like, oh, maybe he did. Yeah, he had some notes of like, what was this actual thing, just so he knows when he's writing. Like, I don't know. That makes sense.
In case you don't know, and if anybody out there doesn't know, Roger, you probably back me up. Tolkien did more like groundwork on his story than anybody else in history.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
my
He-
God. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is essentially like a fully formed mythology, top to bottom. Even like I was reading that the story of what you are actually reading, the Lord of the Rings, is an English translation of a text that was originally found in the Hobbit language. Like it goes that deep.
And that's why it's like Sam or Frodo is writing this story.
Exactly.
Or Bilbo is, rather.
And that's why there are like multiple names for certain characters, because Tolkien said like, here is the name in the Hobbit language, here is the
Yeah.
name in the Elf language, here's the name in the
Wow.
Orc language. And he actually, I think he like developed all of those languages completely.
Yeah.
Because before he was a writer, he was like a linguist. He studied actual languages and studied how language influenced mythology and became obsessed with it and was like, I want to do like a fake version of all this.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so detailed. Like he dedicated his life to writing this story.
It seems to me like he was the smartest person to ever live and also the craziest.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so, I mean, that's just
Yeah.
so everybody out there knows the level of detail in the original Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Nothing had been done on that level. It's really like, that's
Yeah.
what makes it incredible. And, we always talk about our relationship to like high fantasy, because I still don't know. Sometimes there's high fantasy stuff that comes out and it's like, this is not my thing. But man, when Tolkien does it, to me, that's official. You know what I mean? Like this is the guy who created
Yeah, to
all
me,
this
everything
shit.
else is trying to be Tolkien and
That's
they
how
can't do it.
I always kind of feel that way.
The reason I feel that way too, and I feel like Tolkien put in the amount of effort that is so staggering
Yes.
that it's bulletproof.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
I don't care about your fantasy world because you're just making this shit up.
Yeah.
Oh, your guy can fly. Oh, he could control.
Yeah.
He
Whoop-de-doo.
could make the flowers do crazy shit. It
Yeah.
always feels like you're pulling it out of your ass. But Tolkien does the groundwork of like,
Yes.
no, it is that he explains everything. Like, no, it wasn't always like this, but this person at this time went to this place and did this ritual that involved
Yeah.
all of these things, and there was this whole ordeal that explains why this is possible, and he really gets into the nitty-gritty where you're like, okay, son of a bitch, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That actually sounds really thought out.
Yeah, and I also think something that makes all these works compelling too, I will say, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but he doesn't just throw out the highest fantasy thing. Like, how do I describe this? He shows restraint. It's never the dragon turned into a flying
Yeah.
It's always like that stuff has passed. Like whenever you hear one of these stories, it's always like, yeah, there used to be this and this, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's always like these things have all eroded away.
That kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones a little bit, though. Like
Sure.
when that show first started, it was like there at one time was dragons. We know
Yeah.
this.
Well, yeah, I think it's all inspired by Tolkien.
I think it has to be, because you're right. Because it is so hard just to walk into a world and to see like, oh yeah, there's a fairy flying around. You have to slowly get into that.
But that's what I think what stuck with me, not to go off on Game of Thrones, but just to give an example of the counterpoint to this is I'll never forget, Derek, you telling me you were like, when I was watching the show for the first time, you were like, I'm waiting for you to get to one part because I think this is the part that it ruins the show. And it was when the sorry to spoil Game of Thrones, anybody, if you're still watching that. When the dragon flies in, oh, here's the billion-year-old wall that's been protecting whatever.
Yeah.
And the dragon
that
flies
was really
in.
sad.
All right, that's down. All right, let's go. And at the time, I didn't think anything about it. And ever since, I use that as an example of like, just do the most extreme shit. Whoa, whoa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I mean is like, I don't think Lord of the Rings has any of that. It's all like anything big in this took 1,000 years to happen.
Yeah.
And he sticks to that.
What I will say about that, because that's a real fair comparison, I feel like my problem with that moment in Game of Thrones was it happened so fast they didn't take the time to find like the interesting moments about it. I think for anybody out there who's not aware of Game of Thrones, welcome to Earth. It's a popular show. Check it out. There's a wall that's been standing for 1,000 years, and it's like holding back every bad thing north of the wall. And an episode comes, they get a dragon, they knock the wall down in like 60 seconds and fucking blast it with fire. And I just remember thinking, like, this wall has stood for 1,000 years. If this was like Tolkien, this would be a battle. This would at least be a 5-day battle, and there'd be some drama to like, oh, they're starting to get through the wall. What are the good guys going to do? Oh, they stopped them. Oh, no, but the bad guys, they did this. And it'd be a back and forth. And they would find these little interesting moments of drama to just really engage you instead of like, here's the dragon, walls down, move on.
That's such a great point, Derek. Because I'm really thinking, like, I think I missed it because I was getting popcorn. You know, like, I like...
There goes that 1,000-year wall.
The thing that
Enjoy
was such
your
a pivotal thing in the show for people are guarding it the entire series. And I missed. I'm gonna take a popcorn for 2 seconds. Like it's good. It's down.
Went to grab sun chips and the wall has fallen.
Yeah, like that is too fast.
And to bring it back to Tolkien, when he did the battle of what is it, Minas Tirith?
Minas Tirith.
Yeah, where Gandalf leaves and he says like, "Look for me on the light of the 5th day."
Yeah.
Gandalf is basically like, "I'll come back and save you," and rides off on a horse. And then it's like a 5-day battle where these guys are doing anything they can to not die for 5 days, and it's getting worse and worse. They break through the walls. It's like it's to the point where like all is lost, and then like, oh, the sun is rising. It's the 5th day. Look for the light, and Gandalf comes over the hill with an army, and it was like,
is that Minas Tirith or is that Helm's Deep?
That's Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep, yeah. Which are they're both epic, but
yeah.
So
I hear you.
so much happens, and it would be the equivalent of like, hold on, and Gandalf goes over the hill, and then 30 seconds later comes back
with the army.
with an army, and it's like, you could have fleshed that out a little bit. Okay, but enough about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power.
So I think we're on the same page with that kind of fantasy stuff.
You know, we could get into like the plot of each episode. I don't think we need to do that. Like, you know, like to me, watching this, I was so on the line. Like, I love Lord of the Rings. We went to fucking Hobbiton in New Zealand.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Truly loved that. And I'm like, I'm in that mindset when I'm watching this show. I'm like, all right, let's go back. Like, I was already there in real life. I want to see it again. And I knew I wasn't expecting it to be the same, but I just, guys, I just didn't care right away. Like, this is Galadriel. It's like, oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen to her. Okay.
This is Galadriel. Yeah. They really have fun saying her.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, cool. Elves I've seen in the movies, and now they're younger because elves live so long. Like, that's crazy. But already I'm like, okay, I don't know.
That point for me was not even that, because I was like, oh, okay. I honestly, for me, I will say, like, I don't know shit about Galadriel's life, so I'm like, okay, it was kind of interesting, I guess, seeing that. For me, I had that moment with all the talk of Sauron. Like, hey, there's a chance. I don't know. There's a chance Sauron might be coming back. I don't know.
And he could be bad if
and
he
they
does.
keep kind of drawing that out, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, we know what's happening with that. So I think I had my moments like that too.
I don't know. I went in with really low expectations.
Yeah.
The show's not bad.
Yeah. I agree.
But it's not good.
Yeah.
And I was
pretty much my thought
to somebody about it, and I was like, this show, it's like you came to me and you're like, hey, we spent $715 million on a candy bar and you can have it. It's 3 miles long. I'd be like, that's fucking cool. And I'd start eating it, and I'd be like, I don't know if I can finish this. I mean, I love chocolate, and this is like the most impressive piece of chocolate I've ever seen in my life.
But you get a limit.
But I think I just like the candy bars I had when I was a kid a little bit better than this 3 mile long bar of chocolate.
Yeah. And
that's how I feel about this show.
And it, like, to me, it looks amazing.
It really is like the most beautiful piece of cinema ever filmed.
Yeah, I was blown away.
Where the money went. I'm not saying they wasted it.
They kind of did waste it.
Well, sure. But like,
They kind of do.
It looks great. The direction's great.
They
but
ha-
like
they
the,
have-
the story is like,
There is no story.
yeah.
And
yeah.
there is a story, but they spend so much time showing off the pretty stuff they filmed. They forgot to put interesting story in there. And it's
Yeah.
like shots of like flying across Middle Earth towards a snowy mountain. And as you approach, there's a waterfall on the mountain that looks beautiful. It's like, I want to go there. And you get even closer and people are climbing the mountain. Wow. That was actually a breathtaking shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, they're climbing this mountain. Oh, one of them almost slipped. Whoa. Oh, they made it to the top. Move on. Okay. Beautiful shot of these people climbing a mountain. Fucking beautiful. Did I need to see that? Was that was it so important that he almost slipped for half a fucking second?
There is so much of that. Like when, what's the fucking elf who is Hugo Weaving in the
Elrond. There's a D
Elrond.
in there somewhere.
Elrond. Elrond's like, yeah, I
Algernon.
know the dwarves. We got this. And then it comes to a whole hour-long thing of the dwarves. Actually, the prince is mad at you, and now you have to smash rocks.
See,
okay,
yeah. I kind of, all right. Yes, go ahead and say your opinion.
Okay,
I have my own take on this.
My piece on this is it was so long of smashing rocks, and I'm still mad at you. Why are you mad at me? And it's the whole thing, and then like, you lost the rock smashing competition. Now you have to get a ride up to get the fuck out of here, and never come back. And then it's like, well, why are we fighting? And then it's like a whole thing. It's like, oh my god, I don't care. Why we smash rocks? None of this mattered. Like, why am I watching all this?
Yeah, so we're getting ahead of ourselves because you're talking about episode 2.
Oh,
am I?
I didn't remember. It's all bleeding together.
So, my opinion is, if you're gonna watch this show, skip episode 1. I'm not kidding.
I watched that first episode a couple times,
I'm
and
not
I was like,
kidding.
I'm retaining nothing.
I'm not kidding. Just fucking skip the first episode. It's a waste of fucking. So much of this show's problems is they're just spinning their wheels because they have so much money. I honestly think they have too much money and they need to spend it.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, let's just create a new place for them to go.
You know what I would say actually is I would say watch the first 5 minutes.
Not
and it's kind of a recap of like where they were. And then once it gets to like modern day, then just.
But honestly, what I would say is start on episode 2 and watch the recap for episode 1. Because everything in that recap is all the relevant story parts. And I watched the recap and I thought, so those were the relevant story parts because none of that stood out while I was watching episode 1 as being fucking worthwhile whatsoever. It was just quiet conversations. Have you ever heard of Celebrimbor? Oh, the elf smith. Yes, I've heard of him. All right. Well, and then they move on. And I'm like, okay, cool. I know who Celebrimbor is because I am a nerd and read the Wikipedia. But if you
I don't.
If you don't, you're like, what was the fucking point of that conversation? And then in the recap, they just show you that snippet of the conversation. So you go, all right, Celebrimbor is an important character.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't in the recap, you would have you have no context clue.
Yeah.
And to be one more, give one more major complaint. That's like my main problem with this show is I feel like they just expect you to show up and you already know and you already give a shit about Lord of the Rings. I feel like they really don't explain Morgoth. Like everybody's obsessed with Morgoth.
Yeah, that's kind of just like, right? You know, Morgoth.
Oh, did we vanquish Morgoth or is this a lieutenant of Morgoth? Who is Morgoth? Do you know who Morgoth is?
No idea. I don't know. Like the Sauron before Sauron, I guess.
I'm swimming in my head, but isn't
that
the necromancer that they thought they had vanquished, or am I thinking of something else?
Clue.
Morgoth was he's basically the Sauron of before Sauron.
Okay,
He was the dark magician. He's basically like Satan, right? The creator of the universe. Illuminator or whatever his name is, created like 12 mini deities called the Valor, and Morgoth was the evil one.
Yeah.
Whatever. Morgoth was vanquished at some point. Sauron was Morgoth's lieutenant. I read on the Wikipedia. I mean, how does this all tie to Rings of Power? I don't know. They keep saying Morgoth's name, so I looked it up, and then I was like, so that's who Morgoth is, but they don't explain it.
Yeah.
They don't explain anything. They don't explain Celebrimbor. They don't. I'm assuming this homeless guy is Sauron. This mentally unstable homeless guy.
No,
I
I think that's Gandalf.
Yeah.
That's Gandalf.
That's,
I think so too.
I think it's Gandalf.
Because Gandalf was, again, I'm bad with the names. Gandalf was like basically, God, I wish I could remember. It's been so
Bro,
long, but
that's
he
so
was
funny.
he was made by like gods, like he
Yeah.
was like.
But so was Sauron.
Yeah, right. I think it's the same kind of thing. And Gandalf was like sent to do certain things, and then that's why in Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf dies, they're not done with him. That's why you see him like in the afterlife, and he's like, they send him back as the White.
This honestly completely changes my fucking review. This show just lost the fucking popcorn shaker.
Oh,
because
we could be wrong though. We could be wrong.
Yes, but this is my problem: is you don't have a fucking clue what the fuck you're watching on this goddamn show. Some fucking guy falls from the stars, and a couple hobbits. By the way, nobody calls them hobbits.
Yeah, they're not hobbits.
They made
They're
up some
Harfoots.
Harfoots.
No,
Ooh.
that's a Tolkien thing.
I
That's
know,
a Tolkien thing.
Oh, these were the hobbits that came before the hobbits. Yeah, well, fucking explain that. They just leave it all out there for you to piece it. If you have to sit with a Wikipedia open while you're watching the show, that's a bad show, because the show should convey this information to you. If I was sitting in a movie theater watching Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, I wouldn't have to be Wikipediaing shit to understand
that
what's
opening
going on
of
in
Fellowship
story.
of the Ring pretty much tells you who the hobbits
they nailed that
everyone
opening.
is.
This guy. Let's back up here. If
Sure.
you haven't seen the show, here's what's going on. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Morgoth was defeated at some point, and then did the war with Sauron already happen? No, because they haven't created the rings yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they've dealt
he
with
was
them.
like some apprentice, right? Like the second in command.
Sauron was doing some fucked up shit. Honestly, they don't even tell you what the fuck he was. They explain it in like 30 seconds and move on. They don't take the time to really let stuff sink in. Okay, whatever. Galadriel's pissed. Her dad was like killed by Sauron.
It was her brother.
Or her brother. They don't even take the time to fucking explain it. They explain it in like 30 seconds and move on. She's pissed, but Sauron is dead. How did Sauron die? Who killed him? I don't know. I don't fucking know. But all the elves just swear he's gone, dead, and his remnants have been like vanquished from the earth.
Well, that's the thing, is this was a long time ago. I forget how long, but let's say 1,000 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, it's like, well, the elves have these guard towers all over, just in case they come back. They're just keeping an eye on shit, making sure it's all good.
None of this is fleshed out or really conveyed clearly. They really expect you to research this on your own.
Yeah.
They really do. But anyways.
But yeah, so it's like the elves have finally decided, you know what? Fuck it. It's all taken care of.
Yeah, we don't know how he died. We don't know who killed him, but he's gone, bro.
We waited thousands of years.
That was
case closed.
By the way, another problem I had in episode 1 is it just feels like endless narration. It feels like that opening scene from the first Lord of the Rings for like 70 minutes, like a whole movie of a prologue is what it feels like. And they keep saying stuff happens, and it happened for centuries, and then centuries later this happened, and then he lived for and they're moving through literally like hundreds and sometimes thousands of years in like 2 minutes, and I'm like, I'm not really following. But anyways, Galadriel, she thinks Sauron's not dead.
She's sure.
She thinks they're all being a little hasty.
Yeah, let me just have a moment to let that sink in. Yeah. Yeah, Galadriel doesn't think Sauron's
She's
dead.
not buying into that.
If you probably are thinking, can I have a little bit more explanation on that? That's exactly what I was thinking watching the first episode. This is why you said it's a 70-minute episode. You said you watched it like 3 times and didn't really retain much. They're not giving you anything.
The beginning and the ending were hype to me, and that's it.
They literally have like 10 minutes of story and then an hour's worth of cool CGI locations. Galadriel's just walking through the snow, and the elves are like, what are we doing here? And she's like, we're looking for Sauron, bitches. And then they're like climbing mountains. They're like, Sauron's dead. She's like, I swear. And Galadriel's really melodramatic, which is also annoying to me, because it's like, I swear, if you do not take the seriousness of Sauron returning, then by gods you will vow. It's just
I am your commander.
Yeah, it's breathy and it's melodramatic.
And everyone's like, you don't know what they took from me. And it's like, yeah, your fucking brother died. Get over it. Like, I don't know, it's thousands of years ago. Like, move on.
The whole the first episode, just skip it because it's all this. And by the end of the episode, they're still just talking about this. It's like 70 minutes later. I remember at the end of the first episode thinking, if this was a movie, we'd be coming to the cool part at the end of the movie by now. But we're still like explaining the beginning of this story.
Yeah.
But anyways,
But I did like the second episode better.
I did too. Honestly, the second episode is kind of a banger.
But is that the one where she jumps?
Here's how the first episode ends.
Okay, thank you.
The elves are like, hey, Galadriel, Sauron's dead. Why don't you go die? Again, this was not clear to me too, but from what I remember, elves are immortal, but can decide when they want to die. At any moment, they can like release their spirit, but what they choose to do is like a ceremonial getting on a boat and like sailing into the afterlife.
Is that like that them going to heaven? Because it did open up and it looked nice.
It is.
Yes, they have
it's
their
back
own,
to the spirit realm.
Valinor is their it's where they'll go once they've decided, like, they can live 1 billion years.
They're immortal.
It's like, they kind of mostly decide, this is a good time to exit.
But I think an elf,
let's go do that.
An elf can be killed.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But they will just keep living naturally.
Yes.
They won't naturally die of natural.
Yeah,
causes.
and that's why a lot of them just make the decision like, hey, we have a process in which we can go to our afterlife. I think it's a good time. You all want to do it? Yeah. And that's what's the beginning of the show. Hey, the Dark Ages are over.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Let's go. Like,
elves, they don't have to do that. They can release their spirit at any time. I was reading.
Oh.
They could just take themselves out, but they like to do a ceremonial boat ride. Yeah.
And that's how the Lord of the Rings trilogy ends. Is they're doing that again. It's time for the age. It's time for the Dominion of Men. Let's peace out. By the way, Frodo, you're so dope. You can actually like join us.
You can peace out with us
because he was hurting from his wraith wounds still and all that. It was like it's time to go. So that's why that was all emotional.
But they like force Galadriel to do it, which is kind of honestly antithetical in my opinion to like the whole elves decide when to go to heaven.
Yeah, I didn't really get that. It was
And I feel like is the beginning of my third problem with this show, which is like some of this stuff doesn't feel true to Lord of the Rings. And that's all I can say. I can't really put my finger on why, but some of you're watching this feeling like, well, this doesn't feel like J.R. Tolkien wrote this. This doesn't seem like his idea. But anyways, they force her to go on this boat trip, and at the end of the episode, she's like, yeah, guess what? I'm jumping off the boat. Peace.
Which honestly pissed me off. And
it was so obvious.
Also, it's like, well, now what's your fucking plan?
That's where I was. I was like, okay, and we see in the second episode she gets picked up.
Yeah,
and
but that
whatever.
was this happenstance.
But that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, was that? Did you know about shipping lanes or something?
Well,
with
I
boats?
actually had. I don't hate this show as much as other people do.
Yeah, me neither. I will say,
but. Yeah, I'm trying to like this show, honestly. I don't think I do like it, but I'm trying to like it. And when she jumped in the water, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, all right, elves are immortal.
They can swim the
maybe that
she's going to swim across the whole ocean.
For an age.
And I honestly thought, I was like, they're going to do like mythical shit with Galadriel. They're going to like tell the myth of Galadriel. Like she swam the whole fucking way. Like
I didn't even think of that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, but in episode 2, she pretty quickly gets picked up by like a raft of refugees.
Yeah, it's like the movie Castaway. She's
honestly,
laying there and
when she was picked up, she wasn't thirsty out of breath, I would have been like, shit, man, elves can do a lot of crazy shit I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But she was, and then I thought, well, then why did you do this? That was stupid.
By the way,
I hear you.
So the show is mainly about Galadriel, but it honestly has like 3 or 4 different character groups that it's following.
Yeah.
And I was just finishing up the 3rd episode before we came to do Movie Club here, and I realized something about this show. Do you guys ever watch... You ever stay at home and you're watching TV during the day and a soap opera comes on? I don't watch a lot of soap operas, but every once in a while they'll like come on.
I've seen a
yeah, you just
not.
see it.
Absolutely, yes.
This show is constructed like a soap opera.
Huh.
And I realize it because this happened to me the other day. I was watching soap operas, and it would be like guy walks into a room. Oh my God. He confronts two people like he's caught these two lovers in bed. And it's like, Jane, you're cheating on me. Oh, no, I didn't mean it. Oh, it's like, well, don't worry, Jane. I knew you were here. And he'll pull out a gun and be like, na, 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 and then it'll just cut to another scene of people talking.
Yeah.
And this show does that.
Yeah, it does.
They'll pull you right up to a moment where a scene is about to get interesting, and then they'll be like, we'll leave it here. Let's go see what somebody else is doing. And they'll just go to somebody else talking.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back later to, that interesting scene, and it just feels like a soap opera. Like, all right, we're back in the bedroom and he's still pointing the gun.
Right.
But then he puts the gun down. We're going to have a conversation. Bet you didn't know I was pregnant. And then it'll go to another scene again.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about the rock breaking scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elrond wants to go talk to the dwarves. They don't want to talk to him. It's kind of like C-3PO at Jabba's palace, stuck at the door.
Yes.
It's also reminiscent of Gandalf stuck at the door trying to get into the dwarf mine. A lot of this show is just like, haven't I seen this before?
Yeah.
Like, they're just rehashing old shit. For whatever reason, they won't let him in, so he's like, well, I invoke the right of this. And they're like, all right, rock-breaking tournament. And they all start chanting stupid dwarf shit. Rock-breaking tournament.
Stupid dwarf shit.
Rock-breaking tournament. Rock. And they bring out all the rocks, and they bring out all the hammers. And it's like, we're going to have a rock-breaking tournament. Okay. And he picks up the hammer, and he hits the rock, cut to something else. And I was, again, my feeling is like, why don't you just figure out a way to make that rock-breaking tournament interesting?
Yeah.
I'm already here.
I'm already doing it.
I mean, I'm watching the show, and you came to the dwarf mine. You're writing the story, and you say rock-breaking tournament. All right. They kind of just skipped over the rock-breaking tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And
and then they got back to it when he was like tired and like you broke one rock.
And it's like you lost. And I was like, take the time to find the moments to make these things interesting. Otherwise, don't tell me about it. Don't tell me about the rock-breaking tournament if it's fucking boring. Come up with something interesting.
This is the kind of shit you're gonna. I'm sorry. Brace your skull for how hard you're gonna roll your eyes in about 1 second.
Okay.
That I pivoted this in a conversation about this other thing.
All right.
But I'm sorry. This is the kind of shit that why I was so fucking into that third Matrix movie. Because when the machines, it's like, dude, they're gonna fucking dig into the human city and wipe everyone. Like, is that gonna happen? Oh my God, that's gonna happen. And the fact that for like 40 minutes, they don't cut to any other scene. That it is just, they're fucking coming through. Oh my God, they're coming out of that thing. I remember thinking the temptation you have to cut to Keanu Reeves doing Neo shit and the restraint you're showing to not do that. You know what I mean? And I'm using that as a bigger, I don't want to just talk about the Matrix, I promise. I found my way, but I always look for things like that where it's like, ooh, it would be so easy to cut to this other more exciting thing, but you're not, you know what I mean? It's hard to like stay with it. And I had just what you're talking about.
I like,
it's hard to do it, but
I like when a show or a movie maintains the tension. They keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
They have suspense.
Yeah.
This show actually has a serious lack of suspense. Like it fucking needs some suspense.
Sometimes it was almost so close to it too.
It gets close to being suspenseful, but then they will cut away to a non-suspenseful scene. Then they'll come back to the suspenseful scene when it's over. And it's like, what? Every once in a while there's a lot of like fight scenes in this show, and they're always going to new locations that look beautiful. I think the acting is really bad. Like,
you know what? Yes, and it bothered me from the first episode when what was not the Hobbit? What's their name now? The
Harfoots.
Harfoots.
Yeah,
Harfoots.
It sounds like Harefoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Harryfoot.
The pre-Hobbits.
It's the first time you meet the main Harfoot. I forget her name, but whatever.
Dee, BB, Kiki. Oh, I forget.
Nori.
Nori.
That's close enough.
It's like
she's the best actor on the show.
You see a gate and it opens up and she's just and it's like, this is such a pretentious. Everything about this is pretentious.
I remember you commented on it when
like,
you were watching
what do you know? Here's the main character, and here she is, and this girl is. In my mind, it took me out. Like, this is her big break, and she's trying her hardest to really sell that she is an actress. And I don't believe any of this. Fuck off with all this.
I feel like I agree with you. Ultimately, though, I'm not kidding when I think she is the best actor on the show because
I could see
she's a kid and she brings like child energy to her role where she's like smiling and making jokes and like being a person. Everybody else on the show is so wooden. And I'm like,
I could.
Did you all film this on a green screen and you're talking about really nerdy shit and you don't know what the fuck you're saying? Is that what's going on here? Because it just seems like everyone is like, yes, welcome to Numenor. The city was founded by men, but with the help of elves. Well, I hope the elves can still have your help. And it's like, there's no emotion here.
Yeah.
You don't even seem to care about what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't even seem to know what you're saying. You're just reciting words.
Yeah, being what they have to be. Whereas,
Nori, as a hobbit, she has a friend. They discover this guy who fell out of the sky who I thought was Sauron.
It still could be.
Again, it still could be. I don't know.
We don't know.
My
But
thought
just
was
given the
Gandalf.
events,
Yeah.
I feel like it is Gandalf, but
And then,
I don't know.
And then Galadriel is like super melodramatic and breathy, but also seems to not know what she's saying or be aware of her surroundings. These shows filmed on green screen, they really like shoot the actors in the foot because they like can't respond to anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know what the fuck's going on in this show, and I don't know what the purpose. Like, why are we watching this show? That's my main question.
Yeah.
When I come away, like, let's talk about that show Lost.
Yeah.
Bunch of people crash, like they survive a plane crash and they're on a desert island. I get it. Normal people on a desert island, how did they get off the island?
Right.
I'm going to watch this show.
Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose of the Rings of Power is because I don't know what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess it's them, Sauron making those rings, I guess. But I also I know what happens. I don't care.
For me, I feel like the drive here is, Sauron's gonna do something. Okay, but I'm not clear what. And what you're saying about Lost is like, even if that show got even more convoluted than it was, at least you had the core of people want to get off the island.
There was an overarching driving motivation,
yeah.
a driving motivation for every character on that show.
Yes.
We're stuck in this together. We need to get off this island.
That was the simple core
You know
of
what?
it.
You're right.
There's no motivation for anybody on the show to do anything. Like, they're looking for Sauron, but none of them are getting any closer to finding him.
Yeah.
I'm assuming everyone knows this term, but I'm going to explain it to you as if you don't know it, so forgive me. But an elevator pitch is you're in an elevator, an executive walks in, and you have until you get to the next floor to tell them your idea for a show. That's what an elevator pitch is.
Like 30 seconds.
You can do that with Lost.
Yeah.
What was the elevator pitch for this show? I do not know.
What? Lord of the Rings. We're gonna
Lord of
do
the
it.
Rings, but
We're gonna do a
before
show.
Lord of
and
the Rings, the prequel.
and they're all moody. I don't know.
Where did the rings come from? As far as I know, Galadriel is convinced Sauron is coming back. Okay, yeah. She jumped off that boat. Yeah. She's lost at sea. Okay. A boat picks her up. Cool. They take her to the island of Numerion. Nice. She's stuck there. Cool. I've been watching the show for like 3 hours, and I'm like, what's up with Sauron? Are you still following him? Now you're trapped in Numerion. You're like having a romance with some guy you met in the middle of the ocean. You're so off topic. You're so off task. Then there's these hobbit girls, Nori, and this dude fell from the sky, and he doesn't speak. He's like childlike. He's kind of like mentally not all there. And I honestly felt like he was doing kind of evil.
Yeah,
Not necessarily like intentional because he's like not all there mentally, but it seemed like he's inherently evil. Like there's something bad with him.
I mean, I do think that he was killing all those fireflies, so maybe you're right. Maybe you're
it
on
seems
to
like
it.
You're right,
it seems like death seems to follow him. It seems like trouble seems to follow him, and also like this whole show is searching for Sauron. So I'm like, oh, so here's Sauron, and the people who are searching for him are going to find him, and they're coming together. But now I don't know. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
And then there's another group of people, which is like an elf. By the way, people are racist against elves.
Yeah.
I don't know why. What happened? What the
They're
elves do?
jealous. Elves are too cool.
What the
Also,
elves do?
Isn't there a long history of like the elves weren't there for a lot of like? I feel like there's an ongoing thing where like people need their help and they don't like do it.
Maybe.
That's all I remember, because I know in like the Hobbit backstory, it was like the dwarves were up against a bunch of shit, and the elves. It's like elves could have helped us, and they didn't. They turned their back because they got their own thing.
Yeah.
I've always got that impression. Again, maybe there's stuff I'm forgetting, but
So yeah, there are these like scout elves. They're basically like elf cops, elf
Yeah.
detectives, and they're out. I don't know what they're doing either, but I think they're also searching for Sauron.
I think that
But
they're
I
just
honestly
making,
have no clue.
Honestly, it made it seem like they're just like keeping an eye on making sure
have-
there's no
I have no fucking clue
there's
what
no
their
orc
agenda is.
activity.
yeah.
Galadriel was searching for Sauron, and all the elves were like, "You need to die, bish."
Yeah.
But then these guys also appear to be searching for Sauron, but not really. But also everyone's racist against them. Okay, they get captured by orcs and are turned into slaves.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in the show. That's what the show is
That's where the
about.
third one left
Also,
off.
I
That's what
wanna-
the show's about.
I want to bring it back to something because I'm if they go this route, it's like, yeah, I know, like they're trying to like trick me or like have some kind of like big reveal, but it's like this elf guy is super protective of this one girl who has a son.
Yeah.
You never see that kid's ears, and it's like, yeah, it's his fucking son. Like I know, like I got it, like but.
Yeah.
They just keep
Yeah.
like they haven't revealed that yet. I don't know if they're going to, but to me it's like I hope they don't say that because it's so fucking obvious.
I'm glad you brought that up because my brain blocked this out because it's the most confusing part of the show.
Oh yeah.
This elf scout dude, who everybody's racist against, it seems like a human woman loves him or they got something going on, right? And Sean mentioned she has a son. They leave this son alone in a house and he opens up the floor
Oh yeah.
and finds a broken sword.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, is this the fucking broken sword from the Lord of the Rings movies?
That's what I was wondering.
But now I'm realizing-
what is it, Enduil?
Yeah, but now I'm realizing no, because
It looks different.
that sword broke in the war that slayed
Oh, yeah,
Sauron, and
yeah.
that war hasn't happened yet. What
Yeah.
What is this broken sword? And also, why another broken sword? We already had a broken sword in Lord of the Rings. You're just rehashing things from other things that already existed, and you're not explaining it. It's fucking confusing. Yeah, so this kid has a sword, and the sword is magical. Is this kid gonna become Sauron? The sword like lit on fire at one point. I don't know what the
Cool.
fuck's going on.
Lil Sauron.
That would be cool.
I don't know what's going on.
I wouldn't expect that.
Problem number 4. No, the bad acting was problem number 4. Problem number 5 with this show. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
They didn't take a moment to tell you like, hey, we're gonna try to do this. You
Yeah.
don't know what anybody's trying to do.
Which is, we gave it over 3 hours.
Oh, 3.5 hours.
And if this was, I'm saying like I think there's 8 episodes.
Every episode's an hour and 10 minutes.
So essentially, we got another trilogy worth of length of Lord of the Rings.
and I don't know what
So
I'm.
this is
And
the
I
end
don't
of the
know what
first
happened.
movie.
Yeah,
And if
still
I
don't
would've-
know the goal.
If it been credits
Yes.
on the movie, I don't know what I just watched.
Yes. So
I
to
don't know what I
bring
saw.
this, put a bow on it, to get back to the experiment we set out to do. 3 hours of Lord of the Rings in the new Lord of the Rings compared to the 3 hours that we got with the original.
Yeah, Fellowship of the
Movies.
Ring. I knew everything and where we were going.
And The
I
Hobbit,
knew.
those were long ass movies too, but Smaug the Dragon, and you got to go do shit. 3 hours of Rings of Power, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
I could tell you what has happened, but I don't know what it means, and I don't know what the point is. And I couldn't tell you why you should care.
Halfway through the first Lord of the Rings movie, this thing cannot be fucking destroyed by anything we have. 9 people are going to have to go do it, and you're going to face hell. Go.
Yeah.
Done.
Nobody in this show has a goal.
8 more hours of that, and it's all based on that moment.
Yeah.
Nobody in the show has a goal whatsoever.
Yeah.
Galadriel,
There's some cool shit, but
Galadriel jumped off. She got off the boat.
she got off the plane.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was referencing. She got off the boat.
I got that too.
She got off the boat, but like, as far as she knows, like Sauron's gone. She thinks he's not. Nobody believes her. She needs to get back to Middle Earth, but she really can't explain why. The Hobbits, they got this guy, and they're walking around. They haven't established a Shire yet, so I guess they're just looking. They don't know where they're walking to. They just like nomadic. They're walking around. The elves, man, they've been made slaves. That's crazy, dude. What do they got to do? They got to dig holes. They really do.
Yeah.
And also
that's what they
orcs
do.
apparently are like vampires and they can't get hit by the sun or else they'll melt.
Yeah, which I did not know.
I didn't know that
yeah,
about
I wasn't
orcs.
aware of that.
I guess in the Lord of the Rings,
they're
the
like
clouds
albino
followed them.
Maybe they're
And
like
maybe that's
not-
why
not-
I didn't realize that.
I don't know. What's
Didn't we
honestly,
see-
I don't know what's going on.
I don't
And
know.
these orcs all wear skulls. Like,
Hey, honestly, I think the orcs look cool.
they look cool.
Yeah,
I like the orcs.
Good job on. I'm glad that they are physical. They're just great
It looks
makeup. I like that.
I said this show felt like a soap opera, but it also feels like your friend's D&D campaign. It really does. If you guys have ever
Coming
played
up with cool moments.
If you've ever
and-
played D&D out there, it just feels like the writers are just doing a D&D campaign. Like, you enter a tavern. What do you do? I check the floor. Okay. Yeah, the floor seems hollow. Yeah, there's a broken sword down there. Oh, okay. It's just like they're making it up. Then oh, there's an orc in the room. What do you do? Attack it. Okay, well, he pulls you into a hole. It's like, all right. It just feels like a D&D campaign. I don't know.
But it stands to reason, and we never fully said this as clear. We kind of touched on this, but this is not based on a book. It is the rights that they got were to Lord of the Rings, the already existing trilogy, and all of this is built off of the side notes, like we said, the appendices, and that's it. So that's why I think you get it's stuff stitched together.
Yeah, and
it feels that way.
I don't even know how that works. Like, okay, we got the rights to Lord of the Rings, but we can't use any of the stuff you wrote. Okay, so we can make up our own Lord of the Rings stuff. Yeah, but we're gonna explain the stuff you wrote. Like, how does this work?
They all
I
got
don't know.
what they were told. What they were told was they cannot change any of the facts that are in these notes. Like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Okay.
This guy came from this. They can't change any of that. How they stitch it together in a narrative, they have creative control. You know what I mean? Like how they get to there, to there, to there.
So let's ask the real question. We have 5 episodes left. Will you guys?
Yeah, there isn't 10.
According to my little notes here, it says 8 episodes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
So will you watch the last 5 to see where we're going, or are you gonna walk away from this show and just be like, "Fuck this, I'm done with it"?
Interesting.
I had pretty much the same review as Derek. I went into this with such low whatever. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's great, but I don't think it's like an affront to God either.
Yeah.
I'm kind of. There's enough happening that I'm curious enough to watch I'll finish the season. I will. I'm not watching it like fuck. I'm on pins and needles for the next episode. That ain't happening. But I'm curious enough.
I will
I'll watch the
say
rest. I'll finish it.
I don't know if I will continue watching it, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
This was not my worst viewing experience. I think,
Yeah.
$700 million makes it look really pretty.
That's true.
Like I am
It's still impressive.
I am enjoying the technical feats,
Yeah.
the environments
Yeah.
they accomplish. Oh my God. But in episode 3, they unleash a monster called the Warg.
Yeah.
That thing looked like shit. And dude, if you have $60 million to spend on every episode, everything should look flawless. And that thing looked like dog shit.
It's hard to have dog creatures interact with people.
Yeah. Do a practical creature.
Even even Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones had their effects down pretty good.
Yeah.
Shit in Game of Thrones looked pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil this for anybody, but there is a certain character that gets attacked by dogs and eaten by dogs.
Yeah.
And even that, it's like, ooh, that cringy. That did not look good. Like
That's
the rest of the episode was
because
perfect, and this looked bad.
People are familiar with
Avoid
dogs.
that. Yeah.
Everybody's pet a dog. Everybody's interacted with a dog, so we just can tell. Like, that looks a little fake.
Yeah.
A dragon, that looks fucking real to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I can tell you, your dog sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say a production thing that I thought was really cool that I didn't know until recently. The opening of the show, how they did it, I thought it was really cool. They because it's like pouring the shit into the whatever. They filmed it with a Phantom X camera, I think it was called. Filmed it at 5. It's practical.
Oh.
Filmed at 5,000 frames a second, and I thought this was really cool. It was the whole opening was overseen. He's a little old, so he had other people like do the technical shit, but it was overseen by Doug Trumbull, who did the effects in 2001: A Space Odyssey and tons of old shit. I mean, lots of old classic movies, and this was literally the last thing he worked on because he has passed away in the last couple of years. He oversaw this and died. Like that was his last thing he was in the room.
He's like,
for.
well, I can't top this.
Yeah, he was like, I've done enough of this shit. But anyway, I thought that was really cool, actually, having the OG effects guy in there. But I will say, if I can, to balance that out, one, you went down your list of production complaints and things like that. I just want to say mine real quick because I haven't heard you say it. My complaint with it, I will say, is the design. I think the design of like the costumes, things like that, is good, but the inconsistent. The elf cop or the elf.
I know his name,
dude. But the love interest there, the woman with the kid.
Yeah,
she's dressed like a fucking babe, and then the like ugly dudes in the village a foot away from her are all in fur.
Oh yeah.
Is it cold or not? What's up? What's going on? She's dressed in like looks like a fucking gravure model, and she's over here, and then next to him is like on the furs. It's like you okay? So you just don't want to like cover her up, like you were behind the camera and like no, get rid of that. You know what I mean?
So, like,
it's not that big of a deal, but I was just like, what are you doing?
I didn't have that thought, but I definitely thought, like, man, everybody in this show is really attractive. There are no ugly people in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Like, everybody here looks like a fucking Hollywood model with a wig and dirty makeup on.
Yeah, I didn't
Get a real ugly person in there.
I actually thought with her, they could have actually done that down a little. Like just have her she's wearing fur too. It's fine. You know what I mean? They didn't need to do that. I don't know. That was just that was weird to me.
Yeah,
just like, why do you need to do that? No.
So to bring it back to your question, will I finish watching this? I didn't hate it, but it's not like there's not a lot honestly hooking me at this point, other than how pretty it looks. I'm not invested in these characters. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I do like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I could see myself watching the next episode, but I could also see myself just falling off and getting bored. Not because I don't like it, not because I'm like, fuck this show, but just because I'm like, hey, I got better things to do than watch 70 minutes of Galadriel be stuck in Numerion.
Yeah, I think the next episode for me is make or break.
Well, at that point, you'll be halfway through.
That's the 4 episode
That's
mark,
4 episodes,
dude.
and if I'm halfway through and I'm not all the way in, then we're done. Yeah. That's my thought.
I will continue it, but that's my own curiosity about this more than it is they hooked me. I gotta see it. It's more my own curiosity.
And
I think I'll do it.
And I'm honestly a little disappointed at how derivative the show is. The show is the most expensive TV show ever made, and there's not a single original thought in it. Mm-hmm. The costumes look cool. But this whole, we're 3.5 hours in, Galadriel's stuck on an island, and they're talking like, I've got to get off this island, I've got to sail across the sea, and I've got to raise an army, and I'm going to defeat my enemies. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what they did with Daenerys in Game of Thrones. It's literally the same plot.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they had the confidence to make it such an expensive show. Is it's like, look, they
had the confidence.
We got the Hobbit or they're
the like, Tolkien, hey, the number one show from last decade, we can do it too.
Because we got Tolkien's shit.
But it's bullshit. It's like, when they did it on Game of Thrones, that was new because it was 2011. This is 2022. You're literally just retelling the story of your competitor. That's a bad sign, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But maybe they're probably not going to change it. They're probably not going to do a twist. They only have 4 hours left.
but to that point, I will say, even though I'm saying I'm going to finish the season, they have said about the production of the show that they went in with a 5-season plan.
Yeah,
that's
they should have made the first season interesting.
But that's what I was going to say is like, that actually tires me out. That's the thing. Hearing that actually tires me out of watching more. If they said like, even like if they said 3, it's going to be 3 and it's complete. I'd be cool. I'd be like, all right. But 5, I'm like, oh,
Can I vent for a second? I hate when shows do this. You're not going to get to 5 seasons because nobody's going to watch your fucking show because the first season blows. Why don't you just sign up to do one interesting season of a TV show?
When they say that first, it's annoying.
If your show's good, we'll do another season. How many times are like, we're going to do 6 seasons, and then the first season is like,
Yeah.
You guys are still talking about the main character's house.
You know, honestly, this show is not for me, but I feel like Stranger Things, they made one good season.
Yeah.
And then
It's the biggest show on
biggest
Earth.
show on
From there.
Earth, and they said, okay, make more. And then they did.
Yeah.
But they set out to, if they would have still been like, oh, what is this other world thing? In like the, 8th episode of the first season, it's like, who fucking cares? I'm over this,
Yeah.
You got to make it a good season.
Yeah, you couldn't even make episode 1 interesting. You're going to make 5 seasons? What is the thought process here?
I will say, though, I really do get an enjoyment out of things that start where they assume there's a lot more coming. I get a huge kick out of it, especially when it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There, a few years back, there was a movie called The Vampire's Assistant.
Oh, yeah.
And the subtitle was
Cirque du Freak.
the Cirque du Freak saga begins.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole book series.
I worked
and-
at the bookstore. That book series is massive.
Yeah, and then the movie came out, flopped. That was it. But I love that movie exists, and
Yeah.
it says the saga begins.
Oh, that's the same thing with the Dark Universe.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
I
Where
love
it's
shit like that.
you had this whole plan, you did all these PR photos, and nothing ever came of it because it was just
Yeah.
a fucking failure.
So while I agree with your sentiment here, Derek, the Schadenfreude in me does enjoy the other side.
Well,
of it.
I think that
Announced 20 seasons.
It's actually amazing that this show is like spinning wheels within spinning wheels within spinning wheels. Every scene goes on too long. I was actually finishing this up for Movie Club, and I was getting angry because I was like, surely the episode has to end now. And then they go to another boring scene. I'm like, why are you just making up boring shit to show me? Just fucking end it.
Yeah.
The scenes go on too long. The episodes end up having too many scenes that are pointless, so the episodes go on too long. Then the episode ends. You don't know what the fuck happened because they're like, yeah, we got 5 seasons coming. So then the season is going on too long. They have $1 billion and they're just like not telling you a story. Just spinning their wheels,
Well,
in my opinion.
that is the Rings of Power. A new venture for us doing 3 episodes of a TV show.
yeah.
Did it work? I think it did. I think we
Yeah.
got an hour-long
Should we do
discussion
it
out of
again?
it.
Let
I
us
think
know.
Young Sheldon is still
Coming
on the
up.
table.
On the table.
Anyways, do you want to do popcorn shakers?
I do want to say before that, just real quick, I've been cracking up because Peter Jackson said he sent them a ton of ideas for this and they ghosted him. He's like, I'm not officially involved, but like I gave them, I was like, hey, this will help. And he sent a ton of shit and they were like, yeah, send all that over. Yeah. And then he's like, I couldn't get a fucking reply. That just cracked me up.
That's great.
So he moved on to the Beatles.
That's crazy, man, because that guy won an Academy Award for his Lord of the Rings movie,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
which
sure
is
did.
the highest honor for film.
Yeah,
So-
but didn't win an Emmy, did he?
There it is.
and these guys are going to show him how it's done.
That's right.
Admittedly, it's a little unfair to do popcorn shakers for a TV show because we don't know how it's going to end. It might get good,
Yeah.
True.
but we'll put the caveat, the asterisk. This is just the first 3 episodes of Rings of
Yeah.
Power. If it's all you watch, then this is our review of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough. How much do you like CGI environments?
Yeah.
If you like CGI environments, this is a fucking 7 out of 5. I've never seen such realistic looking CGI environments realized on screen. If you want good acting, this is like a 1 out of 5. So I'm gonna split the difference. I'm gonna say a 3. 3
Okay.
popcorn shakers.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2 for me, but I think I'll give it another go. I think it could get better, but I don't know.
I don't like the way they portray violence either. We didn't even talk about. There's a lot of fight scenes, and they just end in like, really like intense violence, which I don't mind violent movies, but in Lord of the Rings, I just feel like it's not.
One last thing I'll say.
don't like the way they do
I hear
it.
what you're saying.
Like the dude broke his foot, right?
Oh, that was gross. They kept showing that the previously. I'm like, I don't want to see that.
And
Yuck.
that's why I thought this dude was Sauron, because I was like, well, this magician somehow made this guy break his foot.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
A issue I have with this is Galadriel jumps in the water and is so mean. It's like, hope she doesn't die. It's like, well, I know she's not. I know she's not going to die because I know what she does later on. Like, if this would have been a show about people I had like, the Nori thing is fine. I don't know who the fuck this is.
Yeah.
And then, later on they meet an elf. Oh my God, that's Galadriel? That's cool. But like to have it be a main character, it's like, well, there's no danger for me here at all.
I know.
Yeah, I know what you're
What they should do is get a crossbow and shoot her point blank in the face. Because then I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How are we going to have a Galadriel later?
That's
Yeah,
not the same
exactly.
Galadriel?
Now I'm like interested. Like, how are they going to get out of this one?
That was me. I've already said that. That was me with the Star Wars prequels. They should have started with Anakin
Darth Vader's
Skywalker,
dead.
and he fucking dies, and then maybe later someone takes that name, and that's who becomes Darth Vader. Or you play with it, dude. You know what ended up being? I'm being serious. You know what ended up being the best prequel I've ever seen?
I do.
Well, we talked about Monsters University.
Yep.
In terms of movies is one.
Yep.
And TV, honestly, Better Call Saul ended up being like a phenomenal prequel show because it didn't change anything in the main show, but it added so much. So many expectations were subverted, and it actually made the original like Breaking Bad show like sweeter. Those are the two that I can think of that are actually
How crazy that Monsters University is even in a conversation about an amazing prequel.
But it's so well done. As soon as that movie starts, wait, with the bad guy is like hanging out with them.
They're
that
all
shouldn't
friends.
be.
Wait,
they're not friends with the other.
Sully's a bad
good
guy. What
yeah.
the fuck? Nothing makes sense.
Like
and it's great.
you're halfway through the movie going, this can't connect to the original. It is. Like, why aren't these big productions?
They
doing
can't figure that shit out?
These other big productions.
I don't know.
Bigger productions than Monsters University.
Well, in this one, they
hard
think
to imagine.
Sauron's coming back, and
I got a suspicion.
I have my theories.
I got to see how that
They could
works out.
they could be right. They could be right.
I got to see what happens with this old Sauron guy.
Yeah, I
See
don't
if he
think
makes it
he's.
back or not.
Rocco, what do you give it, shaken wise?
I'm gonna do 3. I sit in the middle on it. I wasn't grossed out by it like I thought I would be, but I'm also not like, oh, I gotta watch the next one. I'm just like, okay, you got me. I'll watch the rest, but thrill me.
Well, that's that. Rocco, what is next?
Okay. Jim Henson once had. I just wanted to say his name, so you
ah.
thought it was going to be another
Jesus
creature movie.
Christ.
No, I just became aware of. There's a couple directors that they just put out a new movie recently. A lot of people are talking about them. These great indie directors, Justin Benson and Aaron Scott Moorhead, put out a new movie recently, and I heard that they had a lot of great indie movies that they made on their own in the past, and one of them was shot in San Diego, which I thought was kind of interesting. And I saw this movie. I don't know if you guys are gonna love it or hate it. I really don't. But this movie was shot, I'm talking on a budget of thousands of dollars, not much at all, done very independently in 2012. I think we should check it out. It's seriously done on no money at all. And I'm curious what everyone's going to think. A movie called Resolution. I would recommend, this is my tip, don't look at anything.
Watch it on New Year's. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll push the episode a little bit to make that line up. But
Nice. Thanks.
no, anyway, don't look up anything about it.
Okay.
Is my recommendation. Just watch it.
Resolution.
And I think it's on. I think someone put it on YouTube, and it's just all there.
YouTube
for free.
it is. Okay.
So
All right.
check that out. Resolution.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to watch Resolution, and we're going to give you our thoughts on Resolution. We're going to get to the bottom of it next time on Movie Club. As for now, I'm going to go sail into the Valor.
I'm going to jump off a boat and swim for 25 years with no fucking plan. Thank you.
Valinor. It's called Valinor.
The Valinor with Galadriel. Goodbye.